Supporters of computer hacker Gary Mckinnon lobbied Downing Street today to mark the 10th anniversary of his first arrest. Mckinnon, who was born and brought up in Glasgow, is resisting extradition to the US for hacking into Pentagon computer systems. Here's David Marslands.
It was a cyber attack described as the biggest military hack in history. Gary Mckinnon claimed he was looking for evidence of UFOs, but he's accused of shutting down US Army and Navy computers, rendering one base inoperable immediately after the September 11th terrorist strike. In 2002, he was caught. For 10 years now, the United States has been trying to extradite Mckinnon to stand trial there, sparking a row that's reached the highest levels.
I trust that this will get resolved in a way that underscores the seriousness of the issue, but also underscores the fact that we work together and we can find an appropriate solution.
Many in the UK believe the extradition agreement with the US is unbalanced. Britain cannot touch a US citizen if the crime took place in America, even if that offence affected the UK. But the other way round, America can seize a Briton here if their crime affects the US. The NatWest 3 bankers, including Glaswegian Gary Mulgrew, defrauded energy giant Enron from their London offices. They were tried in the States.
Strong evidence isn't needed, only reasonable suspicion. Last year, Home Secretary Theresa May ordered a review of the system, but that found it is balanced. Supporters of Gary Mckinnon, including Sting's wife, Trudie Styler, were at Downing Street earlier to say it's not fair.
He's a very vulnerable man. We're also worried that if, God forbid, that he were to be extradited, that he would simply take his life.
Gary Mckinnon has Asperger's syndrome. He rarely leaves his house. But US prosecutors say wherever the attack came from, it hit their country, and he must stand trial there, and there alone.
David Marsland there. Well, I spoke earlier to Gary Mckinnon's mother, Janis Sharp. Janis, 10 years on, how is Gary coping with the pressure as he fights extradition to the US?
It's horrendous. He's not coping. I mean, basically he's shut down. He can't hear about it. He can't talk about it. And he sort of sits in the dark, and it's very difficult. And he doesn't have an outlet. He's not allowed to be online. He's a musician, but he hasn't touched an instrument for years because he couldn't deal with what it would open up. It's ruined his life, it's ruined our lives, and it's been a 10-year sentence of mental torture. He hasn't raped anyone, he hasn't murdered anyone. It is totally out of proportion.
What is your fear if he is extradited?
He can't be, he just can't. There's a new thing came out from the American government, and Eric Holder, the Attorney General, has been told that he has to do something about the male rape in prisons in America. 60% of the men there are raped, and the prison officers tell them that you have to fight or you have to accept it. It's not acceptable, and it's not acceptable to extradite anyone to prisons like this. If you're British, you're not put in an open prison because you're considered a flight risk. You're put in a horrendous, violent prison. And Gary Mulgrew, who was extradited, one of the NatWest 3, he has written about how awful it is in those prisons, and it is terrifying. And for someone who has a terror of travel and who never leaves the country, never goes on holiday abroad, to be taken away from the land he was born in, from everybody and everything he knows, is obviously wrong.
Janis, do you accept, though, that he has done something wrong and should stand trial, even if that be in the UK?
Well, yeah, that's fine, but he's actually served a sentence of 10 years. What Gary did was a Section 2 computer misuse, which the CPS, the High-Tech Crime Unit, told Gary he would get 6 months community service. So to go from 6 months community service to 60 years is ludicrous. And Gary had a dial-up connection, was in a bedroom on his own, looking for information. Had it not been Gary that left messages saying that your security is awful, it could quite easily have been some dreadful terrorist. Really, it is lucky it was Gary who left stupid notes and acted stupidly. He acted stupidly, of course he did. He didn't destroy anything. He didn't bring anything down. Professor Peter Summers in 2009 at the court said that Gary could not have done what was alleged. The £400,000 worth of damage alleged is for firewalls they should have had installed in the first place.
Clearly you think the extradition arrangements are unfair, but an independent review for the UK's arrangements by Sir Scott Baker last year found the current treaty between the UK and the US was both balanced and fair.
Unfortunately, Scott Baker went to America and met with Eric Holder, the Attorney General, and almost all of the judiciary over there, and went to the Supreme Court and so on. So it was heavily influenced by the people that he met there. The Joint Committee on Human Rights has also done a review of the treaty and has said that it isn't, and that we have to introduce forum, which means if you were in this country when the crime was committed, you'll be tried in this country, and also the right to have evidence. Americans have forum. Americans have the right to have evidence that they can contest in an American court before anyone is extradited. We don't have this, so how can it be fair?
Janis Sharp, thanks for joining us on Scotland Tonight.
Thank you.
Now, from the campaign to stop one extradition to the British government's fight to have radical Islamist cleric Abu Qatada expelled from the country. Qatada, described as bin Laden's right-hand man,